Samsung can still sell smartphones, why Apple never sold the skinny bundle, Facebook owns your birthday, and an app that's a lot like Poopymon Go, but for dog poop. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1565, recorded Thursday, July 28th, 2016.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century with a fast, easy, and completely online process. Check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. This is Tech News Today, the show where we talk about all things technology or some things technology that happened today. I'm Megan Morrone.
I'm Jason Howell. Are you forecasting? Are you foreshadowing?
Yes.
That some of this show will only kind of be technology. There's a lot of technology in this show, Megan.
There's a lot of technology. It's just earnings week.
Yeah. So then it's like technology and money. Mm-hmm. So I guess I feel you. There's a few money stories right off the top here. Let's get them out of the way, except that they're really super exciting, so don't go anywhere. Samsung has had a tough couple of years, but that seems to be changing with the company's second quarter earnings. The company increased revenue by 5% year over year. Operating profit up 18% for that time. And during a time when mobile division profits for many major OEMs, they're all complaining about slowing or stalling entirely, more than half of Samsung's revenue and profit were generated from its own mobile efforts. That's thanks to its flagship lineup right now of the Galaxy S7 and the S7 Edge devices. It's also kind of shown strong sales of its chips and displays to supplement the slowing smartphone market. So Samsung actually kind of rocking and rolling. They've had a tough couple of years, and this is definitely good news for them.
Yeah, so I mean, by all accounts, these phones are good phones.
Mm-hmm,
and
they are.
I mean, their only problem is they're not an iPhone. And I say that not facetiously, but like some people just have no idea why they want iPhones. But I mean, the S7 may be a better phone. The other thing that Samsung does is they pay a little more attention, I think, to the things that people want in smartphones. And, you know, they took away the removable SD card and people wanted it back. And so they brought it back. You know, just like that. Well, you know, they're not like Apple, who's just saying, well, no, you'll get used to it. We're taking that stuff away, and you have to get used to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that has something to do with this.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you bring up, because Samsung in the last couple of years, because of the difficulties that they've had kind of being as much of a success in the smartphone world as they were in the beginning years of Android. But mind you, they're the most dominant, manufacturer of Android devices. So so take that for what it's worth. But over the past couple of years, to deal with that kind of that struggle, they've had to kind of change their mentality, at least specifically with the smartphones, on things like what you're talking about. They really did kind of go into it saying, well, these are the things that we know you need or know you don't. They really followed kind of Apple's lead to a certain degree there and did that for a while. And it's only in the last couple of years when things got tough where they started to kind of bring things back by popular demand. For the longest time, they were trying really hard to bring all of these software features into the device that made it stand out. And really all it ended up being to I would say the majority of users on a lot of those features, they were just kind of like throwaway features. They were like, they looked neat in the store, but then you get it home and you're like, well, I'm never going to use that. Yeah. So they've changed their approach, they've changed their tactic, and I think that's working. And they're creating great phones.
Yeah, and then the batteries are bigger, and some people, that's what we say it all the time. We want a bigger battery. My phone doesn't need to be any thinner. It doesn't need to be any lighter. I want it to last throughout the day and maybe even longer. And
I think what's also really, really interesting here is that the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge sold more units. It's the higher priced device of these S7 and S7 Edge. So it sold more than the plain S7 device. So that speaks highly of Samsung's ability to appeal to people who have money to spend, because that is not an inexpensive device. And then right about this time, so that was about 5 months ago that these devices hit, Now things are finally starting to kind of taper off and slow down a little bit. And what do you have? Next week, we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 announcement. That's another one of their total flagships. That's going to get another segment of smartphone buyers. And we're going to hear all about that next Tuesday morning. Actually, we're doing live coverage Tuesday morning. I think it's 8 a.m. Pacific with me, Leo, and Ron Richards from All About Android. So we'll be here talking Samsung.
Awesome. And there's some related news also from the IDC.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. IDC released a report that shows smartphone shipments have continued to stay pretty dormant when it comes to shipments, but indicating that we have reached, as we've talked about a lot, peak smartphone, kind of. But Samsung, as we're kind of discussing here, and IDC finds it as well, dominating the pack right now. IDC shows Samsung has shipped more smartphones than any other OEM it tracks, outshipping the second and third place OEMs, that's Apple and Huawei, combined. Again, like we were just saying, much of that success attributed to the S7 lineup. So, I don't know, all good news for Samsung.
Yeah, that's impressive that Apple and Huawei combined, they outsold them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, Alphabet stock is up after beating expectations in their quarterly earnings today. Revenue is up 21% from the same quarter last year, with a continued swelling of users and ad dollars, especially on mobile. Not a big surprise with Google services built into over 1 billion Android phones. And Google says half of its searches come from mobile now. Still, Google's other revenues didn't disappoint either. There was a bump of 33% for Google Play and hardware. That's kind of a big deal. I think that, we heard it from Facebook yesterday, and they smashed earnings as well, and based on ad dollars. But what we see from Google is that there's room for both of them when it comes to advertising.
For
they
sure.
don't seem to be suffering.
Yeah, and I mean, Google still obviously controls the market. Facebook's on the rise right now. They're sitting at about 12% of the market, up from 8.6% in 2014. Google controls right now 31% of the ad sale market. So they've, and that's that's of a total global market of $187 billion. So there's a lot to be made there. There's a lot to go around right now. Ad spend on mobile is increased 63% for the quarter, year over year. So that's going up. Advertisers obviously want to spend the money, but what challenges Google here a little bit is the fact that mobile ad buy is worth less than desktop ad buy, and so much of what Google is doing right now is kind of in that mobile market, and so basically their cost per clicks go down as a result of that. They get more value out of those desktop ad sales, but I mean, regardless, Google's everywhere, right? Obviously Android, but then beyond that, iOS, pretty strong presence there. They've made deals to make that happen, but that's a pretty important part of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. There were for a few bets, their other bets, Nest, Verily, and Fiber, that saw losses. So it's not all good news.
Yeah, it seems like those are interesting to track as they happen, because those are neat kind of little side things, but they really don't account for a whole lot of what Alphabet is doing. So I imagine at some point, if they don't continue to kind of improve, then we'll start hearing about bye-bye Nest. I don't know.
Yeah, I think core Google still generates most of the money, they see.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have, in this fantastic trifecta of earnings reports, Amazon, with its third straight quarter recording record profits. Earnings per share at $1.78, $1.78, when only $1.11 was actually expected. That's $30.4 billion on expectations of $29.55 billion, which is a pretty large margin there. Net income for the period sits at $857 million, up from only $92 million this time last year. So that's crazy jump right there. Amazon attributes some of this success to early successes in its Indian business. So it's kind of expanding there. And I mean, man, Amazon just has a lot of experimental things happening right now. And I think that's a strategy that's continually paying off for them.
Mm-hmm, I agree. Yeah, I mean, cloud computing is still huge for them. They're expanding their grocery service, drones, of course. I mean, but
someday drones.
Someday testing in the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're for so long. Jeff Bezos was like, "We're gonna make money eventually. Just hang in there. We're spending a lot, we hung in there, and he was right."
Mm-hmm. Cloud, right? Amazon Web Services. That's $2.88 billion of revenue for the quarter, which is up 58% from this time last year. So that's like going nuts. It's the most revenue that Amazon Web Services has actually captured in a single quarter. So that's just a really important part of their business. And then Prime, didn't really see any news or any specific data on Prime specifically, but I mean, they've been doing so many, they've had a lot of efforts in kind of changing how Prime is structured. You know, not just, God, go away, fly. Not just, seriously, did somebody microdose me again? How, you know, they're changing it up. So you don't necessarily have to have like the big monthly or yearly cost in order to be a part of Prime. You can do it on a month-by-month basis and get in, get out. And I think that's going to be good for that service, because once people get a taste of that, then they start buying even more stuff through Amazon. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing with Amazon's numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about TV in a couple of stories ahead of this. But for me, it's like, you know, I always have one thing that will keep me in Amazon Prime. Right now, it's Mr. Robot, which I can watch only on Amazon Prime. And, you know, it's like, that's enough. Like you know, it's basically, I mean, I get things shipped, of course, and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I love that it's just intertwined with everything, that I get all those things together. And of course, my Alexa, I mean, for the Amazon Echo, they haven't released any sales numbers. We have no idea how that's doing. It's really basically US only now. But yeah, it's integrating Amazon services into people's lives as soon as they buy it. And, you know, you're just getting more and more sucked into that.
Yeah, and when you're talking about like experiments that, you know, Amazon's willing to take these risks and do experiments, that Alexa experiment could prove in the long term to be incredibly important to them if the Internet of Things becomes more and more prevalent in people's lives, tying Amazon's products and services into things that control all of those devices in your house and everything. That's a really big deal long term.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. We got all the earnings done.
Earnings done.
Earnings done. There, you know, if you fast forwarded, here's where you can come back in. I told you that we were going to follow every last turn in the twisted road to Apple's self-driving car. Today, Bloomberg reports that the company is moving away from an autonomous Apple car and towards software for autonomous cars in general. It might be a good move to leave the creation of the rest of the car to the experts. Bloomberg sources point to a possible future deal between an existing car maker and Apple. Earlier this week, we told you Bob Mansfield would be heading up the project, and today we learned Apple has hired a former BlackBerry exec to work on Mansfield's team. So this is exciting. The exec, whose name
is Dan Dodge.
That kept confusing me, because Dodge, it's not about Dodge. His name is Dan Dodge. He was from QNX, which was bought by BlackBerry, and QNX was essentially an OS for the car. And so that is exciting, I think.
Yeah, and not to mention, not just an OS for the car, like worked with more than 40 or works with more than 40 automakers. It's kind of like middleware for in-car control and infotainment and all that kind of stuff. It also, you know, is used in things like appliances, medical devices, other places. What's interesting about this is that Apple already has pretty close ties to this. In 2014, CarPlay was actually announced, and what was CarPlay running on? It was powered by the QNX platform. So Apple already has a lot of experience working in this sort of way. Of course, QNX isn't necessarily being, you know, acquired here in this deal. I believe it still just belongs to BlackBerry. But Dan Dodge, you have to imagine, you know, had a lot to do with a lot of those deals, figuring out how to work with all of these auto manufacturers to kind of integrate this into that experience and everything. That's a pretty valuable pickup. Yeah,
and then Apple also opened an R&D center in Canada near the QNX headquarters. So that's another piece of the puzzle.
One thing that I wonder about this is Apple's not very, like, it isn't Apple's MO to create software that goes into things like hardware that they don't control. So that would be a big change here if that's the case. You know, working with all these other automotive manufacturers to make sure that the Apple created, you know, OS is running the car underneath, you know, different from the iPod model where their software only works on their hardware. And by the way, this was Mark Gurman, 9to5 Mac, used to be. He's now at Bloomberg. This was his first article. So way to go, Mark Gurman. Article at Bloomberg, anyways. Speaking of Apple, we've heard time and time again about Apple's plans to get into the TV business with some sort of streaming service. At one point, the service was looking at a fall 2015 launch with around 25 channels, including ABC, CBS, and Fox. for its devices, also, like iOS devices as well as Apple TV. That is, of course, if Apple could strike the deals needed to make it happen. The Wall Street Journal today reveals that sources close to those discussions say the deals never happened, primarily because Apple did what Apple does best. It drew a hard line in the sand, and it didn't back down from that. Eddie Q supposedly made strong demands that would run kind of counter to how cable and Hollywood have traditionally done business. And out of that, media companies were critical to the product, just kind of refused to play ball, and still do.
Yeah, I guess don't mess with Disney is the moral of the story. So this is the elusive skinny bundle, the skinny bundle that he talked about that we all wanted. It was $30 for a selection of popular live channels and an on-demand library that would have full seasons of hit shows. And like that sounded really exciting to a lot of people. And then it just never came. And then, we got Apple TV and we expected a streaming service on there, no streaming service. And we always knew that it was like, oh yeah, they're just not making those deals. This isn't that surprising. Yeah, that they would just go in there, try to act like they did with the music industry and have it just fail miserably. Yeah.
Eddie Q's negotiation style in this article was summed up as, quote, "We're Apple." That's the negotiation. Like, of course you want to work with us. We're Apple. Come on. It's an interesting read to kind of get a sense of his kind of approach and a little bit of Eddie Q's background and style for negotiation like this. It's a tactic that's worked in the past. It worked with the music industry. iTunes, Apple really kind of changed the way the music industry worked, for better or for worse, depending on who you ask. And I think that's a big hurdle right here with getting these deals off the ground. The TV execs say that this would be, of course, there are benefits to a relationship like this, but the challenges are that they're basically resistant to letting one single entity like Apple kind of redefine the playing field and control it, when they want to be able to control it. But Apple wants this control, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also a money thing. Like they were just, Apple's deal was not enough money for them. They just were like, that's ridiculous. Like we have a lot of people to pay. So, yeah.
Apple still has mountains of money that it sleeps on every single night. And so they basically have the ability to just kind of wait it out and be like, you know what? If you don't care yet, you will eventually. We've got the money to wait it out and see.
Yeah, and I mean, they're creating some of their in-house content. I know the plan of the apps, and then they just bought Carpool Karaoke, which I'm super excited about.
I've never seen that.
Oh, what? Look it up.
I've been living under a rock. It's called having children.
Well, you can watch it with your children. Anyway. So, yes, Carpool Karaoke. Check it out.
Right.
But just one last note. If you want to upgrade to Windows 10, the free upgrade ends tomorrow. So get it or not, or just wait a few days until you have to pay for it if you like paying for stuff.
Yeah, all you have to do if you want to get rid of $120 or so odd dollars of your money is just wait a couple of days and then need it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you
go. After the break, happy birthday, friend. Statistics say at least one person out there has a birthday today, so happy birthday to you. And Facebook has a special surprise just for you. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage, the sponsor of this episode. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. No more frustrating 20th century mortgage process. That was gross. This is wonderful. Fast, powerful, and completely online, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. If you hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork, you don't have to anymore. With Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and your pay stubs with just a touch of a button, helping you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or your tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support. So today, Facebook launched the birthday recap video that compiles all of your birthday wishes that your friends send into a nice little video package. Because as Facebook really wants to convince us, video is the future. To celebrate this new feature, Molly McHugh from The Ringer wrote a piece about the death grip that Facebook has on our birthdays. Thanks for joining us, Molly.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. So you write that wishing people happy birthday on Facebook is nothing new. But as for the rest of it, the Facebook of today bears little resemblance to the Facebook of your college days. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh man, yeah, it looks nothing like it used to. I think anybody who remembers, 2004, 2005, when it first started and you signed on, this was like a very safe place for college kids. And now your entire family, your work colleagues are all on it. So it's super different. But the birthday thing has always been around. They didn't maybe push it as much. If you've noticed, maybe the notifications on people's birthdays have gotten a little more aggressive. They really want you to be like saying things to people on their birthdays, and they're adding all these features. But it's been there for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, the notification feature is only a few years old, but now it's not only like notifying people whose birthdays are today. It's like, here's some, next week, start planning a party for this person. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot of social pressure involved in feeling like you have to say happy birthday to somebody too. It's definitely an option. You can not say anything, but it becomes weirder when, the more people that are on Facebook are doing it and you see all of your friends doing it. And there's certainly like an exchange of social capital kind of going on, which some researchers have looked into. And it definitely seems to be true that we're doing this partially just because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah. So you quote a paper by Bill Blytheway where he says, the strength and reciprocity of personal relationship is often tested by the ability to remember birthdays. But I mean, do you think that still works in this day and age where we all know that we're being reminded? It's not something that's
Right,
actually,
that's a really good point.
It's just all we did was log into Facebook to get that reminder.
I mean, I think it's definitely still important. Think about if no one said happy birthday to you, or if you did sign on to Facebook on your birthday and there was nothing there, you'd be pretty surprised, right? Like we've come to expect this. So maybe it's, kind of in the way that you used to be able to remember maybe your closest 5 friends' phone numbers. And now you have no idea because you have an iPhone. I think it might be kind of like that. Maybe you used to be able to remember a small amount of birthdays, and now it's going to get smaller and smaller, and this is just going to be a function we rely on in order to say happy birthday to people.
Which is very good for Facebook. They've got a million different ways to kind of keep you locked into their service, but being the primary place that you are reminded of your good friends' birthdays, is actually a really good lock-in to a certain degree. One of the things that I liked from your article, you said the kind of thought around using Facebook as a way to wish happy birthday and all that kind of stuff is, and you say, I do want you to have a happy birthday, but I also want you to know that I want you to have a happy birthday. And that kind of ties in, I think, a little bit with what you were saying, Megan, that there's like, to a certain degree, it's nice because at least they know that you care and that, that you're reaching out because you want to say happy birthday. But it still kind of goes back to you, right? Especially when you're talking about a social network.
Yeah, there's definitely some selfishness involved, which is not surprising. Everybody has a motive. One of the papers that I looked into, they looked into like why some people who got the most happy birthdays, and it turned out to be take women who were in a relationship, and part of that was that you had a more active social circle, and part of it was that you had your significant other social circle. But then they also saw that like one of the reasons people were comfortable maybe wishing someone a happy birthday was that if they were attracted to them, there was no rejection possible because they're in a relationship and it's okay. And you're just doing this lightweight action that everyone else is doing. So it's okay. And it's like a little less personal than, sending a text message that you never get a response to or something. So there's definitely some self-preservation involved in all of this.
Exactly. So, we always see Snapchat trying to be like Facebook, Twitter trying to be like Facebook. Do any of the other social networks, are they even attempting to
capitalize on this?
I don't even know what it is. I called it a death grip before, but are they making any effort into this, or are they just like, oh, Facebook's won this one, we give up?
Definitely people are doing little things to, send birthday reminders. I think LinkedIn even sends a few birthday reminders. Snapchat puts a little icon next to your username. Twitter, you have the option of adding your birthday now and you get like a little animation, but nobody is really pushing it like this. There isn't a place we all go to wish someone happy birthday en masse. Like if you see it on Twitter, it's like, oh, I had no idea this was their birthday. That's cool. But it's not, I don't wake up to a notification from any other social network telling me it's somebody's birthday.
I will say that there is a downside to all of your however many friends on Facebook wishing you a happy birthday, is that you then have the job late that night of going on and liking every single post. Or at some point you end up giving up on it. But there were a couple of years there where I felt like it was my duty. Like, you went out of your way to wish me a happy birthday, and I want to show you that I appreciate that. So then you go through the list and you like every single one. It's like work.
That's supposed to be this new feature Facebook sends you. So the next day you can just send it out with a thanks guys for all of these. That's part of the reason they are instituting it. So you have the option of never liking another happy birthday post again. It's out there now.
I know. Apparently I died inside at some point.
It's amazing to me that Facebook is basically putting ads on our guilt. Essentially, like that's what it is. You know, a lot of people, I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta wish this person happy birthday. I mean, after my birthday this year, I kind of made a joke about it. I was like, thank you so much for everyone who wished me happy birthday, and everyone who didn't, I know who you are, and you're, a jerk. And I was just joking, and all of the next day, like, people were like, I'm so sorry, happy birthday.
Man, I missed it. Like, you're talking to me.
Yeah. It's just, they know everybody has, like you say in the article, like this is one thing everyone has. Not everyone has cute pictures of puppies or cats or kids, but they all have birthdays.
Yeah, it's like the lowest entry to participation in something. Everybody has a birthday, and it's such a lightweight action to participate in. Going out and looking through all of somebody's vacation photos and deciding to comment or like one, that's a little bit more of an ask than, saying happy birthday. It's pretty easy.
Sure.
Well, Molly, thank you so much. Molly McHugh is the articles editor at The Ringer, and I am Molly McHugh on Twitter. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, have a good night. All right, first up in feedback, a correction from yesterday's email regarding two-factor authentication. I totally misinterpreted William's main point. Embarrassingly, I went home, left here with my head lowered because I was like, damn it. What he was trying to emphasize is that the NIST is trying to make things more simplistic, but companies like Google are trying to make security more accessible. And other big companies are actually following Google's example in that regard, giving people even more options when it comes to security. He says the NIST isn't so much wrong in their approach as they are just kind of too simplistic when they seek to eliminate a useful option that's like SMS, which, that's a better option than not offering anything, essentially. Anyways, apologize for getting that wrong yesterday because it's an excellent point, William. Thanks for weighing in on that. And thanks to Ed Riley and his son, who also chimed in with extra context around that. But in other feedback, we heard from Andrew R. from Montreal, Quebec, who chimed in on our nougat discussion yesterday.
Nougat.
Andrew says our discussion is like opening a can of worms. He said Europeans do drop the T, and where it originates from is very controversial. I myself, an ex-Brit, know that Montélimar in France. I don't know, one of those.
That's not how you pronounce it.
Montélimar?
Just kidding.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about pronouncing things.
I know, exactly. And I'm getting everything wrong now. I can't even pronounce the word France. Is that how you say it? Is where it comes from. But no, because Italy and Greece claim the origin too. But most history nerds say it's the Middle East because of its nuts and its seeds ingredients, thus possibly a more sophisticated variation of Hava. I'm off to the Lebanese grocery store in my hood. I don't know if that was intended to make the email, that last part, but I put it in there anyways because everyone needs to know you're going to the grocery store. And I appreciate you sending us your email, tnt@twit.tv. And I don't think that we've convinced Megan at all to say nougat.
No, and Mike in the chat room, Reverb Mike, says, please don't drop the T. So
okay.
He's with me. Mike is team nougat.
All right, fine.
TNT's fan of the day is Chris Pleichman on Twitter, who sent us this YouTube video saying, here's how I watch TNT with HoloLens, unicorn, and rainbow holograms.
What?
This is, I believe, our first HoloLens submission.
I think so, right?
Yes.
Or have we had one before? Maybe we have.
Maybe we have. We did.
Oh.
There was someone that's working on HoloLens who sent us in.
Yeah.
But there were no, this was our first one with rainbows.
Well, definitely our first one with rainbows
and unicorns.
and unicorns.
Can't really see the rainbows, but there we go. Yeah.
There it is.
I think the show is better with rainbows.
It looks like it's about to rain on me. Don't rain on me. Or Megan. Okay, I'm done.
So this case, Chris was showing us it was very meta. It was yesterday's TNT fan of the day. And if we keep going like this, it can be like Russian nesting doll. So if someone else HoloLenses yesterday's, and it can go on and on and on.
On and on.
Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. You can just send your own or build on this. You get to decide. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it.
I do hope that they keep tacking on.
Yes.
It'll be like pointing a camera at the TV screen. And it just all right. Back on track. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. If you hate picking up dog poop, there's an app for scat. An app called Pooper for iOS is for those dog owners too lazy to pick up Trixie's mess in the park. That dear, lazy-faced dog owner simply pulls out his or her phone and summons some poor soul to swoop in and scoop out. Think of it as the Uber for doggy poopers. Report the location of said mess and off you go, free to live your life poop-free.
Yeah. Okay, so
how would you feel if you had to use this app, or if you chose to use this app? I don't know. Who chooses to use this app?
This is horrible. This is the worst. This is literally the worst app ever. Ever. I mean, I guess if it increases people, I mean, if there's less dog poop on the sidewalk, it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I don't like this. Now, I saw this on the Daily Dot, and I was like, is this a scam? Like, this must not be a real thing. But then it linked to the Washington Post. And I believe the Washington Post. This is a real thing. We're getting to the point where like the most ridiculous things are real. Yeah,
it's feeling like a tech bubble in that regard, right? Like there were all sorts of really crazy, wacky things happening back in 1999. And you were like, really? That's a business? That's a thing that you can base your business on? Apparently they're looking for funding. So anybody who has a lot of money, they want to get in on the dog poop app bandwagon, go for it.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is a great job for my kids.
Oh.
To earn money. So
I suppose
it's not
so. Yeah, babysitting or picking up dog poop.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they have all you need is a smartphone. You go to that location, and it's kind of like Pokemon Go a little bit. You gotta catch them all.
It really is, actually. It's like Pokemon Go in real life, but with poop. It's basically what it is.
Pokemon Go with poop. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Oh man, I think you knit the hell on the head. Oh man. Okay. All right. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be a part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. You can also find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
And if you want to subscribe to the show, you can find all the ways at twit.tv/TNT. Subscribe now. Tell your friends. Go like us on iTunes or all the places that we can be liked and left comments on, good or bad.
Yeah, do that. And you're at Megan Morrone on Twitter.
I am at Megan Morrone on Twitter. Thank you.
I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole, Greg Burnett with the words sometimes, and everyone else who helps us to produce this show every single day. And thanks to you for talking tech. We'll see y'all later. Bye, everyone.